Well, welcome back to week 9 of Intentional Relationships. And this week we're going to be talking about friendship. And friendship is something that God designed. It's His idea. We have a relational God, and He creates us as relational beings. And we all know that verse in Genesis where He created Adam. He had Adam name all the animals, and He said, it's not good for a man to be alone. Of all the things, the good things He made in creation, He knew that man being alone wasn't. And so He's created us to have friendships, to bond, to enjoy each other's company, to help each other out. And so friendship is one of the most important things you can learn in life. And one of the most important relationships you'll have in life are the friends that you keep.
Yeah. And people struggle with friendships.
Yeah.
You know, I would say, would you be your own friend? And if you go, well, Mondays and Tuesdays, but Wednesday and Thursdays, I would not be my own friend. And it's something to really pause and think about. Because, understand our purpose, again, is a relationship with God that glorifies Him, and add that relationship, a relationship with others to bring them to Christ. So you have to build friendships, but not everybody's good at building them. Some people are afraid. What if they reject me? What if they don't like me? Or I don't know how to start a conversation. Or I don't, maybe you've never been anybody else's friend. And maybe you have childhood trauma where you were the kid that was left out, or the last pick for kickball, or you were just kind of shunned. And so you've retreated. And so as a result, you don't really know how to be a friend. But if you want romance, if you want to get married one day, you have to be a friend first, because that's kind of where it starts. So this chapter talks a lot about different types of friendship. We talk about the importance of same-sex friends. We talk about the importance of opposite-sex friends. Jesus had both. Yeah. And it is possible, Dan, right?
That's right.
For us to have both friends of the same and the opposite sex. Yeah. Because again, Jesus teaches us the balance, to balance it, but it teaches us the boundaries of doing that. But then we also get into another area, which is the giver, the receiver, and the balancer. So Dan, talk a little bit about that. I think you had a good story with receiver. Yeah.
When you are in relationships, when you're learning about relationships, often you're young, and you're receiving a lot from your parents. And so you don't want to stay in that place. As you grow, you want to learn how to begin to give back a little more. And as you make friends, you learn through just experience that, oh, they're doing something nice for me, I should do something nice for them. Well, that's a balanced friendship. But there's 3 different kinds. And a lot of times when you're in a giver type relationship, you're in a relationship where you realize I'm going to be doing most of the giving. So I need to be making sure that I have good boundaries, but I don't want anything more out of this relationship than to be able to give. But sometimes people put themselves in a receiver type relationship where they are receiving all the time. Maybe they just have a lot of needs in their life, or a lot of aches and pains. And so they constantly are needing affirmation, or needing support, or needing advice, or needing help. If you do that in your life, you'll find it's much more difficult to maintain friendships, because people can only handle so much help. It's normal to help our friends. But if it's a one-way street and everybody's always giving to you, you might find that you're always in a receiver type of friendship. So you want to make sure that you are giving. Yep. A lot of friendship is involved in making sure that you are serving as much as you're being served. Yep. You're pouring in as much as you're being poured into. So I had this, many years ago, I was on staff at a church, and I made a comment to one of the janitors. I said something to him that I would love to have a 3 waterfall painting. And he's like, what are you talking about? I said, well, our relationship with God is like 3 ponds, basically, or 3 waterfalls. There has to be people in your life that are pouring into your life. God is pouring into your life, and people are discipling you and helping you and growing you. And there's a place that you pour out, that you're helping and growing other people. Because if you're only receiving from God or from other people, then you overflood your banks. And if you're only pouring out, you're going to dry up. And so the whole concept of this relationship of constantly flowing, as God pours in, you pour out. But that's in all of our relationships, that we have to be mindful of the balance of having it. And this whole chapter talks about that, because I don't know, some people are really good at being friends. I mean, I try really hard to be a good friend. I'm very conscious of the time that I make. I text people, check on people, call people, try to have coffee, lunch, as much as I can. But just because, here's the thing with friendship, you can't stay friends with everybody you've ever known, because if they're in my life for those 3 types of roles, and some friends do have to go, and I haven't done anything wrong, they haven't done anything wrong. But I love how in the Bible, there's so much representation of friendship. And one of my favorite stories, Dan,
is at the end of Jesus' life, and how he gives custody, he gives responsibility of his mother, who we now believe is a widow, because otherwise Joseph would be doing this, to his friend John.
Yeah.
Not to his siblings, because they don't know the Lord yet, right? They're siblings. They still think he's the brother that's the carpenter. But he gives them to his friend John. What does that speak about friendship to you, Dan?
Well, obviously, Jesus, God in human flesh, was here to redeem us. And in spite of that fact, he developed friendships. He even called his disciples friends.
Yeah.
And at that moment on the cross, as he looked at John, he realized this is somebody who is important enough in my life, and I've learned to know, and I trust enough to give the most important relationship, earthly, my mom, over to him. And so it just shows that there's something that developed over the course of those 3 years of that ministry, where he was able to say, I trust my mom to John.
It's actually John 19:27. Then he said to the disciple, "Behold your mother." And from that hour, that disciple took her to his own home.
That's
even
incredible.
moved her from her home. So what does that speak of John? And what does that speak of Jesus? And I think, so Jesus is telling us just the importance of friendship. And if you're not good at being a friend, would you be your own friend? If not, why? Or the opposite, I'd be my own friend. I'm a good catch. Be concerned with that attitude too. But I would ask, you might even ask people like, am I a good friend? Could I be a better friend? What does that look like? I don't think you need to try to be friends with 20 people. But if you were a good friend with 2 or 3, that, like Peter, James, John, Jesus had his 3, wouldn't that be a good model for all of us?
Yeah, I think you're going to be always in your life, you're going to be making friends. And sometimes there's seasons of life, people move away. So friendships change over time. But it's important to have people that you have spent the time with and learned to trust, and they've learned to trust you, where they become closer and closer friends in your life. And I think it's especially true if you're building friendships with the opposite sex and at some point you want to be married again, you have to understand how friendships work. If it's all about you and it's all about, or you seem to have struggles making friendships, I would recommend going back to the blind spots chapter or talk to other people, as you said. I'm having trouble making friendships, and open yourself to growing and learning how to be a friend. It's not that hard, really. It just requires some intentionality and some care about the other person in the relationship.
Some people ask me, where do you find friends? One of my favorite books of all time, and some of you I'm definitely aging myself, is Experiencing God by Henry Blackaby. And I remember he said, see where God is working and join in. If you want to make friends, go serve the Lord. Make it not about you, right? Make it about God. And I promise you, as you're serving, you will have things naturally have in common with somebody else. And you will naturally start to talk. And then you're like, hey, what are you going to have for coffee later? Hey, I like to bowl. And those things will happen. But you have to be intentional, kind of like the title of our study. You have to be intentional in that you ask the right questions to get to know people, to build a friendship to begin with. At the same time, practicing boundaries. And at the same time, not getting ahead of God. You don't need to be planning a vacation with somebody you met 5 seconds ago. Or dating somebody that you met 5 seconds ago. And but friendship is one of the most powerful things that Jesus talks about in the Bible, because not every one of us will get married for the first time or the second or the third. Some of us will be single forever, and that's why it's important to have good friends, right?
That's right. The chapter on friendship, we talk about something related to dating, and we call it a friendationship. And a lot of you may have experienced this before, but you never knew what it was called. Well, we're here to enlighten you. A friendationship happens when 2 people become friends, and they become very close, but one of them or the other of them thinks it's a dating relationship, but the other one doesn't. They're often, they look a lot like a dating relationship. There's a lot of one-on-one time spent. There's a lot of phone calling and going to movies together and things that you would think a exclusive dating couple is doing, but one of the partners is not feeling like they're dating. They're just getting all of the benefits of a dating relationship. And the other one that may be holding out hope that this is going to be a romantic relationship is sadly disappointed because it's not going the direction they want it to go. And I think a lot of the reasons sometimes people don't talk about this or ask, are we in a dating relationship? Is because they're afraid if they do that, they'll lose the other person.
Yep.
But sadly, people get hurt because they do this for many years sometimes,
Yep.
and they've never taken time to define that relationship. And sadly, when it ends, they're just brokenhearted.
Well, it's a very selfish relationship because you're waiting and pining and holding out that he or she, like he's the one, and I'm waiting. And the reason I know is because I have the sweat socks, the backpack, and the jacket and everything else because I've been in one. And so you wait and you wait and you wait and you think everybody says you're a great couple and it just seems like the right one. And you've done a lot of things together. In mine, I got jewelry at Christmas. What friend only gives you jewelry? Something maybe a boyfriend. And the whole time, they're getting a lot of their needs met. They're getting me to walk their dog and wash clothes and fix dinner. But it was never mutual. And instead of them putting a boundary in place and guarding my heart, they continued to let me do this, knowing that I romantically cared for them. And vice versa, I didn't guard my heart and also realized it wasn't going anywhere. Again, a value of having accountability, right, Dan, and having friendships. But that's friendationship is one we tell you about in the book, and we go into way more detail in it as well. And the other one is companionship, which we see a lot today with older singles that are like retired. But you can read more about that in the study too.
Yes, not every friendship is healthy, and what you want to do as you're building friendships is you want to get healthier yourself. You want to grow in your own walk with God. You want to grow in your own understanding of healthy relationships. And sometimes you realize this relationship is not what it should be. It's not going to be good for my life. And maybe it's time to not cut somebody out of your life. I think that can be problematic unless somebody is really dangerous. But most of the time, we move people kind of in and out of the circles of our life. The closest friends we have learned to trust over years, they're in the center. But sometimes we just move people out a little. Maybe we just don't spend as much time with somebody. And that's okay to do. You get to decide in your own life who you want to spend time with and who are the most important people that will influence you and really help you in your life.
And who is God wants you to spend time with.
That's right.
So we hope this is another great chapter. We hope that you've learned a lot about yourself and about your friends, and maybe you need to let some go. I don't know, and maybe add some in. And but I'm sure as you go to God and ask for His guidance and direction, He will direct you in that as well. And get your friends that know you pretty well to help you also maybe eliminate some people that are not helping you grow, but are actually pulling you away from God. So great. Hope to see you again next week. Thanks for joining us.